Enemies don't spawn behind you. It's a skill issue. You weren't paying attention. Me. Alright, so we have a pretty horrifying spawn clip. This is probably the second most horrifying spawn clip. I think, honestly, we have seen a little bit of weird spawns with spore mines recently, but yes, this video is not about spore mines, surprisingly. This is an enemy spawn that is almost as horrifying. I mean, honestly, let's exclude the Biovore. A Biovore spawning out of nowhere directly on top of you would be kind of rough. But okay, we have a pretty good spawn-in clip here. And I gotta say, sometimes when we review clips like this, I'm not really trying to say this is like 100% an issue. I know spawns can be a little bit inconsistent, but I have to be honest, I would not want the devs to actually take that much time to you know, basically fix any sort of weird spawns outside of spore mines. Yeah, like if a major spawns right next to me, I'm not too concerned about that. Is it weird sometimes when a major spawns in and a bunch of gaunts come out of nowhere? Yeah, that can be weird. But ultimately, the only time this is an issue is with spore mines, is, you know, when spore mines come in and explode. Yeah. But here we have something almost as horrifying, but luckily I don't think it goes as bad as, let's say, a Biovore would have been if that just spawned in directly on top of a team. Alright, so we have it looks like a sniper on Inferno here. Now, this is either ruthless or substantial, and yes, that is a zone threat right there. And this is a 10-second clip. Unfortunately, I would like to see how this goes. So maybe in the comment section we can get some clarification right there. But on this elevator, I think sometimes this situation can get a little spicy if you rush it, and then a whole bunch of mobs start to follow you, and sometimes you can get away, sometimes you get hit by a sniper or two. Honestly, this area is so bad for snipers. Definitely be careful about snipers around here. But yeah, I ultimately think they would have been okay here. We do have a sniper, so that's good. Tactical, and the assault class that I don't see right here at the moment. Oh, yeah, it's right. Yeah, this is the assault right here. This is the tactical. We have a sniper. This is a 10-second clip, so like we've already seen it go fully. A couple people were annoyed at my pausing, which I anticipated. I did say I was sorry about that in the video when I was doing it. But yes, see right here with the zoanthrope spawn, it does look to be just one, so that doesn't seem too bad. But I have to admit, we're definitely gonna have to keep an eye on this elevator for zoanthropes or extremists to spawn in directly on top of teams, because if this was a Biovore, no matter what difficulty this was on, that would have been a tough situation to deal with. Unless the Biovore, I guess, just runs away, and then, you know, you can just use the elevator, I guess, to go directly to the next, you know, spot of the operation. But okay, so I think the sniper takes out the zoanthrope. I'm gonna have to admit that I think the zoanthrope's pretty doomed here. Yes, we have a bolt sniper. That should be enough, and he didn't even go to the grenade. So yeah, I think the sniper's fine. Ooh, with the Inferno pistol, you see the power sword on the assault class there, which is nice. I see a lot of assault players use the power sword. But okay, with a spawn like this, yeah, this can definitely be a little bit of an issue. Let me know in the comments if you've seen a spawn like this that was more problematic outside of spore mines at the Hive Tyrant. That definitely could be an issue. But something like this could have been potentially pretty bad. Let's say higher difficulties, 2 zoanthropes, maybe even an extra extremist because of the difficulty. That would be kind of rough to run into. But yeah, definitely be careful with spawns, especially at this position in Inferno. But, you know, I don't see this too often, I have to admit, but let me know in the comments your experience with spawns as problematic as that. The spawns are a joke at this point. I ran into the back room of the cathedral. Boom, a Biovore. Okay, yeah, yep. And a gaggle of warriors spawned on my dang head, not to mention I've been getting silent extremist spawns. Whoa, okay, this is snowballing. Silent extremist spawns. Wow, okay, that sounds horrifying. First I've heard of this. Not too sure if I've ran into something like this, but sometimes I think it's silent, but honestly, then I go back on the footage, and I just wasn't paying attention, or I, you know, used a grenade or something. The Biovore and a gaggle of warriors is kind of funny. I really hope silent extremist spawns. I really hope that's not true. But the Biovore spawning directly on top of a team, into the back room of the cathedral. Yeah, I mean, Any sort of room that you just directly run into a Biovore can be rough, but as long as the Biovore goes for melee, you just really have to pay attention for those melee attacks, because bang, parry, gun strike. If you are using blocking, like for me right now, if I was to go against a Biovore with blocking, I would be in a rough spot. I do not have enough practice with that particular enemy, but, you know, I will eventually get there. I mean, dude, honestly, when it comes to, you know, how good the community is going to get at fighting some of these enemies, when Horde mode comes out, I feel like a lot of people are going to have a lot of practice fighting extremists, and you might even see the community, you know, the community take an extra step up in skill level. That would be kind of nice to see. Gaggle of warriors spawned on my head. That sounds rough. That sounds rough. Biovore with a bunch of warriors spawning in. Yeah, I really hope that's not something common, but I do think this is a little bit rare. And just one Biovore, you know, it could get worse. It could be 2 or 3 Biovores. It'll all be quiet. And then I'll see a random Lictor Naruto run past to go smack somebody. 8.0 is probably going to send spawns into overdrive. Horde mode and extra terminus spawns. I can see it now. 2 Neurothropes just spawn under your feet and wipe the run. Holy cow. Okay. I think there's some valid concern here. I do think some of this is obvious hyperbole for funny sakes. The Naruto run, yeah, that is kind of how it looks. Honestly, that's kind of, you're kind of roasting them a little bit there. 8.0 is probably going to send spawns into overdrive. Yeah, because the absolute buff. We will see. We will see. We definitely have an interesting, you know, end of the month dev message to us. So I don't know. We will definitely see what the devs decide to do. I know, honestly, at the end of this month, there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff, happening for this game as far as like announcements and, you know, what to expect from Horde mode. There's going to be, a lot of information coming down the pipeline. Right now, we're kind of just, talking about some of the persistent issues we see. You know, after grinding, I think a lot of people have a good handful of criticisms that are easy enough to solve, at least on my end as a gamer. Sometimes it's just like, tone down the spore mines and we might be okay. Something on the level of 2 Neurothropes spawning under your feet and wiping the run. I don't think we see anything like that in the game at the moment. However, we did see a potential 1 Zoanthrope spawning in over their heads and wiping the run, but luckily that team had a sniper, so I'm going to put it on the side of that team getting out of that situation. I haven't seen the original post or comment in this section that much or at all so far, but, ultimately this comment stood out to me, so I definitely want to admit it is funny, but, like, 2 Neurothropes in Horde mode, as long as they're in the air, I think, honestly, we should be able to deal with. Also, I think it depends on the composition. I have missions where not a single Zoanthrope spawns at all, and others where I have to deal with Zoanthrope spawning in at least 6 different zones. Yeah, honestly, it's kind of funny how this can work. I feel like whatever extremist spawns in early, you see them the entire time in the operation. Like, if you see a Biovore and then, like, a Ravener spawn in, either one of those are just going to be spammed. Like, I don't know what it is. And then you'll see, like, a Zoanthrope and a Biovore, and then you'll see, like, a Lictor and then a Biovore with it. And it's just like, what is going on? But yeah, sometimes it's funny how this can work out for sure. The worst was getting a Neurothrope right after we stepped out of the elevator after that part. Oh, I guess they're referring to the part in the clip. Yeah, on those tight platforms, we survived because the Heavy's Heavy Bolter chew on Tyranid bosses like it's nothing, since I downed half of the Neurothrope's health much quicker, while the rest of the team deals with the swarm coming our way from the other side. Oh yeah, honestly, dude, that's why having a Heavy on your team is just so nice right now. The Heavy is just a great class to deal with some of these surprise situations where it's like, oh, we're in a corner, but we have a Heavy who can just, do exactly that, chew through mobs and boss health. Basically, whatever the Heavy is aiming at, you can kind of just let them deal with that part of the map and kind of just deal with other things, which is really nice. But yeah, that Neurothrope, right after this elevator, the Neurothrope can definitely spawn there quite a bit. I've fought the Neurothrope a few times there, and it can definitely feel a little bit frustrating because there's not a lot of areas to move around. But it's absolutely free. if you do have like a nice ranged build and you can get to the part where you see, you know, the ammo pod. Because the Northrop really has a hard time navigating that area too. They just can get the jump on you, and then if you can move past them and start to get to the point where you progress into the operation, you can simply just turn around, and the Northrop does not like stairs. It doesn't like that area at all. It doesn't like railings. But I can imagine there's definitely situations where it gets bugged underneath people, so maybe that comment before we just read definitely was onto something with the Northrop spawning in underneath our feet and wiping runs. But regardless, let me know in the comments your unique spawning situations for enemies that, you know, could be problematic. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's rare. But yeah, definitely let me read something horrifying in the comments. As horrifying as possibly 2 Northrop spawning in underneath you after the elevator in Inferno. But yes, thanks for watching.